off to the north or the northern coast of Spain today, to the town of Corunna, which was a very important town, though I didn't realize it at the time. But Corunna was the place where a large battle was fought during the Napoleonic War, and Sir John Moore died there. Now, this is all probably irrelevant to you, but it's not. It's and another important memory that people have forgotten. So it was 1809 was the year. I went there when I was playing with Nicky Sudden and the Last Bandits. And later on, I introduced Nicky to the Sharp books, and he became a big fan of the Napoleonic Wars and the Sharp books, and actually joined the Bernard Cornwall Appreciation Society. Bernard Cornwall had written the Sharp books. Now, the thing was, the British had to retreat. They were being pursued by Marshal Soult, I think it was, and it was in the winter of 1809, so it was January, and the weather was terrible. They got to the town, managed to defeat the French, and then the army left for England before returning under the command of Wellesley, who later became the Duke of Wellington, who later became just another pub name. When I was there, it was part of the Spanish tour that I did with Nicky, and it was not a bed of roses, let's put it that way. It was probably not Nicky's best experience, or it was not Nicky at his best. I later became relatively close to Nicky, and I also enjoyed his company, and I'll do a little clip on that another time to explain why. So I was there with Stefan, the drummer, and Stefan Desserand, my favorite Frenchman, and we went to pick Nicky up. He'd been staying over the night with a fan, and the two of us drove down to pick him up, and Nicky came out, and he was in a state. We couldn't get a word out of him. He was speaking this strange language, but we couldn't understand what it was. It was like a foreign language, but Nicky only spoke English. We sat him in the back of the car and tried to sober him up, because he'd been drinking orange juice with vodka all night long, and I don't think he'd slept. We drove down to the town of Corunna, or Corunna, and went out to a restaurant, as you do when you're on tour. Nicky started picking at his green salad, as usual, and Stefan and I were getting tucked into our delicious Spanish food, because we knew it would have to keep us going all night, give us the power to continue all night. Nicky asked the club owner, who joined us at the table, if he could have a certain substance, if he could get his hands on a certain substance. The club owner said, yeah, I'll see what I can do. Shouldn't be a problem. And then Nicky said how much of this substance he wanted, and it was an enormous amount. The club owner was very shocked and said he would see what he could do became even more shocked when Nicky fell asleep at the table. Lovely town you have here, I said. I chirped up, which was standard procedure. Stefan and I had seen this scenario many times before, so it was nothing strange for us. And it was strange for the club owner, though, you know, to have this rock and roller falling asleep at the dining table. We went to the club and did the sound check, and then we went on stage to play. And there were quite a few people there. We started playing, and then Nicky stopped playing the guitar. So we were a trio, so, you know, obviously there were only three of us. And so I was doing a lot of the heavy lifting, melodically speaking. And we carried on playing, and Nicky collapsed on the floor. Well, he fell on the floor, he didn't collapse. And suddenly, out of nowhere, all the cameras suddenly appeared with flashes on them. Flash, flash, picture, picture. Nicky was on the floor and apparently seemed to be loving it, the attention. When he was on his feet, he called out and was complimenting all the girls, how beautiful they were. And a voice, a male voice, shouted out from the audience, why don't you compliment the guys? And Nicky said, in crude English, which I won't repeat now, but he said, because I don't want to F-U-C-K the guys. It was an extraordinary night, especially when he picked on the club owner's girlfriend and became enamored of her. She was not as enamored of Nicky as he was of her, and retreated into the audience, into the little crowd, trying to get away from him and his advances. I could see the club owner, he looked absolutely furious. But Nicky went into the audience until his guitar cable was no longer long enough, so he had to stop, and she kept just running away. And he returned to the stage, and we finished playing. The trouble with performing with somebody who enjoys taking substances that keep you awake is that time changes. So what started off as a normal set, the duration, the length of the set, soon becomes two sets. And you're playing away and trying to keep everything together. And then you do the encore, and this one song or two songs soon becomes another set. And so you're playing. Nicky was fine by this point, and thanks to the substance. Of course, if you're on tour, the next night is a repeat. So Nicky would be very tired before he went on stage because he'd been up all night long. And so the whole circus repeats itself. And for Stefan, the drummer, and myself, it was just very arduous. We had some nice, really nice gigs, but it was always a lot of work for us. because you're just working the whole time. And I wanted to share that with you. Don't ask me why, but I did. So there you have it. If you're going to play in a band, make sure that not everybody is on a substance to keep them awake all night, because you will regret it. But the town to remember tonight is Corunna. In 1809, already forgotten by most people, and the Lord Wellington, or Wellesley, who later became the Duke of Wellington, goes from being a national hero to being the name of a pub. Such is life. Okay, well, take care of yourselves and those you love, and hope to see you in the next one.